What's going on, family? It's your main man, 100 Grand, Kim Blanks Harrell, and we are having a live webinar coming up on Saturday, May 14th, from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the topic this month is dividend stocks. Yeah, that's right. We're talking all about dividend stocks. Those stocks that not only give you your cake, but some of that icing too. So make sure you tap in to Dividend Stocks presented by Stock Market 101, part of the Bullish Institute's Financial Literacy Workshop Series.
This is the Entrepreneur Kickback. We're here on another episode of the Entrepreneur Kickback, and we're joined today with Mr. Brad Cartier. Did I say that correctly, sir?
Cartier. Yes, close.
Cartier? Okay.
Yeah.
For those who may not know you or who do know you, give a brief introduction of yourself and your business.
Yeah, sounds good, Parrish. First of all, thanks for having me on. I really like the podcast. So I am a real estate developer and writer. I also am head of marketing for a company in San Francisco called Hostfully, who develops software for the real estate industry. So I have a number of irons in the fire, but it all revolves around this passion of mine that is real estate.
Oh, okay. You answered my first question. Like, what was the first business that you started with? Because I see you're so multifaceted, but what was the first one? So that was real estate.
Well, no, I mean, when I was younger, even in high school, I had my own little website development company. Back in the days when you had to type it all out via HTML, I started doing websites for local businesses, and that sort of sparked my passion into entrepreneurship generally, which then led into real estate, which is similar to a lot of people's journey as well.
Okay, did your parents play an impact in that at all, or was this something that you found within yourself?
Yeah, I think my parents definitely impacted it just by enabling me and encouraging me to do exactly what I wanted to do. But real estate was never in my family, nor was sort of entrepreneurship. Both my parents were government workers, but definitely very encouraged and enabled by them. But my first rental property was a long time ago, but that's what really set me on the trajectory of where I'm at now with a development company and, just under, 100 built, rental properties of various types, short-term rental, medium-term rental, long-term rental. So it was really that first property that opened up my eyes. It was probably the scariest thing I've ever done, but in retrospect, it wasn't that scary given the scale of things, that I'm doing today.
Oh, that's awesome. So you said it was scary. So when we speak on your first property, what did you have to go through in order to acquire that property? Was it a lack of capital, or did you have to partner with somebody? What was the process? What was the barriers, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, I mean, multiple barriers. First one is the mental barrier. As you know, as an entrepreneur, there's that sort of second guessing, that self-talk that, it's the imposter syndrome. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Who am I to make this kind of big step? So overcoming that just through education and confidence and surrounding myself with other like-minded individuals. And then, yeah, I mean, you mentioned the capital. That's the big one when you're first starting out, is where do I get that, 20 to 30% down payment? So for us, that was the scariest part. My wife and I just had our first child. And we actually took out a home equity line of credit on our primary residence. So that was pretty scary for us. It was a big leap. And I'm really happy we did it. But it turned out that investment, the investment turned out to work out well in the end, because real estate, if you're in it for the long game, tends to always work out as long as you're not making catastrophic mistakes. But in retrospect, it was not the best investment, the best market we chose. But in terms of the value of that first purchase, it was my tuition, right? It's, you learn so much by doing, and we did, and we learned a lot. And we're better for it, even though it probably wasn't the best investment initially. But the highlight is that, you take the risk, you make the leap, and that's the only way you're going to learn. You could read as many blogs or books or whatever, listen to speakers, but until you start doing, you're not really going to learn the valuable lessons that you need to know to succeed.
I keep hearing that. I've all the episodes I've been doing, that's you got to go for it, man. Like, you got to silence that doubt and not listen to anyone else unless they're trying to provide value of some sort. I'm learning that myself personally, and it's interesting that you made that statement. And just reading what you told me, when we were speaking, your portfolio's extensive, is impressive, and you're saying something very simple: just start. That's it. Yeah, just start.
Yeah. That's the hardest part, and it just gets easier. Even though the scale of developments, I mean, we just finished, an eco resort and a 16-unit apartment last year in the midst of COVID, and looking at that versus the first condo that we bought, it looks a lot more risky and scary to do the latter of the developments. But it just you get more confidence, you learn, you get a team around you. It only gets easier. It's that first step. And like you said, Parrish, I totally relate to that. It's people around you are saying, well, are you sure you want to do that? That's really risky. And generally, I've found that the people who give that kind of feedback are people who haven't done that particular task. When I actually talked to people who had bought rental real estate, and I talked to a lot of them, generally speaking, they were supportive. And like you said, they were providing advice rather than, critiquing, the benefits of what you're trying to do.
Okay. That's great. Okay. So let's help someone out who may want to engage in real estate. Mm-hmm. Based off all your experience now, what would you tell that person to start with at step one?
Yeah. So good question. It really depends a lot on your current situation. The best, Kickstarter real estate tactic that I've ever seen, and I didn't get a chance to do this because I was newly married with a child. I mean, we could have done this, but it's the house hacking concept. So if you're young, you're able to move around. It's buying a property that you're going to live in. Because the way down payments work is that if you're going to live in the property, generally speaking, you could get a down payment of only 5% of the entire value of that property, versus if you're buying it as a rental property, generally speaking, you have to put 20 to 30% down. So a much bigger difference. So finding a property that, either it's a 3-bedroom condo and you're near a school and you can rent out 2 of the rooms and live in 1 room, or like a duplex or a triplex and you live in 1 unit and rent out the other units. You can still benefit from that 5% down payment, but you can also dip your toes into landlording and real estate investing by renting out that additional space. So that's always when I'm talking to young entrepreneurs and investors who want to get into real estate, from my perspective, that's the best one.
Oh, that's interesting. I've heard of house hacking, but I never known the one that actually done it. Huh.
I've known a few people who have done it, and I mean, the downside of house hacking is that you're living with your tenants, which is it's not ideal. But for a short term investment, for education, on the whole process of acquisition and rent collection and leasing and all that kind of stuff, do it for a year, do it for 2 years, then you can move out and get your own place. It's about getting that education and really getting into the weeds. And yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to learn a lot of tough lessons, but hey, that's that's life, right? And any other entrepreneurial journey is no different, whether it's real estate or startups or starting your own retail business. It's all the same. You're going to get punched in the face. You're going to do things that are uncomfortable, but you got to do it.
Okay.
And I didn't mean punched in the face literally. I just meant metaphorically.
Yeah.
If you're getting punched in the face as a landlord, then yeah, call the police. That's bad.
Say you're in the wrong business.
Yeah, exactly.
This is very informative. Because now, is there a major difference between investing internationally as opposed to like where you stay? Is there a major difference? Like, is it easier for you to get real estate in San Francisco as opposed to getting real estate in Ottawa? Or are the programs the same, or are they slightly different? Like, how could someone like me invest in a place in Canada?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're just starting out, I think either in your backyard or at least your country is probably the best bet. I have had investments in Florida, and as a Canadian, it's not impossible. It's certainly doable, but it's a lot more challenging. So to start right off the bat with that additional challenge of investing international probably isn't the best decision. But what I would say is that investing outside of your market, within your state or your province or country, that's always a really good opportunity to get access to markets that might be more accessible than your current market you're living in. And what I mean by that is if you're living in, downtown Manhattan, you may not, and you're first starting out, you may not have, $500,000 to drop on, a triplex in the heart of the city there. You want to look to other secondary and tertiary markets, either within the state or within the country itself. And there's a lot of really good platforms out there that enable that now. Like Roofstock comes to mind, where you can buy a rental property through their platform, and it can be anywhere, and they have the management all set up. So it's not like you have to go to your property, every day and check up on it. And that's one of the big misconceptions as well. It's like there's so many digital tools out there that enable sort of that laptop landlord type scenario, where you don't actually have to be, living in the market or even next door. You just have to find good contractors or property managers in the area. So I would definitely suggest staying within your country, but not necessarily within your city or state.
Okay. And you said that's Rooftop?
Roofstock.
Roofstock.
It's a digital platform where you can buy and sell rental properties. They do all the due diligence for you. There's others out there, but they'll do all the metrics for you as well. All the important metrics that matter to investors, or should matter to investors, that new investors need to learn. They sort of do all the heavy lifting on that, and you can easily add to your portfolio without actually being boots on the ground.
Everybody listen to him. Roofstock. Okay. I want to touch on your newsletter for a second, because you're also into educating real estate as well. Can we discuss your newsletter that you're offering for people currently?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for giving me the opportunity, Parrish. So education is extremely important to me. Just to begin, I volunteer on a number of different meetups and organizations, both locally and nationally, to help beginner real estate investors make the right moves and try and stay away from those get rich quick schemes. And late night infomercial type people, quote unquote, the so-called influencers. So I'm really, really passionate about that. And just financial education generally. I think our school system in North America does an atrocious job for all of us and our children, to educate them on, just the general things around money and interest rates and loans. And I bet you 90% of high school students wouldn't even be able to tell me how money's created. So it's the simple things like that I'm super passionate about. So bringing that to real estate, I love writing. I got my start in marketing as a writer. It's something I'm really passionate about, and I'm always digesting real estate related news. So I figured, why not, and I'm taking notes on articles. So I'm like, well, why not publish these notes? A lot of my friends and coworkers found them very useful. And I sort of write with a different style, try to inject a little bit of humor into my writing. So I decided to start a newsletter. It's called Briefcase. reader, you can look at it at briefcase.email. It's a free weekly newsletter, and we touch on, we do a deep dive on one topic a week related to real estate. So, this week, I don't know when this is going to go out, Parrish, but this week we're talking about climate change's impact on real estate. Last week was, the impact of the Great Resignation, people leaving their jobs and working from home on real estates, and how, people looking to buy real estate should think about their acquisitions in light of what's happening with the job market. Before that was crypto. And so we try and touch on one topic of importance every week. And we also relay headlines as well, like most important top news stories of the week. So it's just sort of it's a one-stop shop for, real estate entrepreneurs or anyone looking to get into real estate. It's a free newsletter, and really we're just about education and having fun with real estate. I would love for, if you go to briefcase.email, you can click on a newsletter even before signing up just to read, how we write. It's very different than your typical newsletter. So that's something that I've been doing for about a year, and we're up to about 4,000 subscribers now. So just want to keep going. Want to spread the good word about the value of real estate and doing real estate right. So those are the two main missions of Briefcase.
Oh man, that's awesome, and it's all free.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, all right.
We won't try and upsell you on anything or anything like that. Like, our main goal is just educating. And like I said, I feel like I feel lucky to be able to write the newsletter every week, because I'm just so passionate about all these topics, and I like explaining them in a way that people will better understand. There's not a lot of material out there that really makes a topic like real estate accessible and digestible for people who aren't economists or people who aren't like lawyers or accountants. So it's really trying to bring it down to the basics of what does X in the news mean for people looking at real estate.
Okay. That's very interesting. So based off your opinion, from the Great Resignation, how has that affected the overall real estate market in North America?
Very good question. I could talk about this for another hour, but I'll try and be succinct. And if anyone's interested in this, people can fire me an email, brad@briefcase.email. I can send our issue on the Great Resignation. But essentially, Parrish, what it means, there's the short-term effects, which are, we saw people leaving higher priced markets into secondary markets, into tertiary markets. So you saw housing prices in those markets rise quite substantially. But the longer term effect is what is the most important. And I think, with real estate, you always need a long-term vision, or else you're getting very transactional, and that's when you can make mistakes and all that kind of stuff. So I always try to take the long-term view. And the long-term view of the Great Resignation, whether that's a trend that stays or not, what is very clear in my mind and a lot of other people's minds is that the whole remote work, flexible work from home, whatever you want to call it, people wanting more flexibility in their lives, that's here to stay. So what does that mean for real estate? So Parrish, I'm a developer, so we're building a sixplex down the road from where I live. We have 6 2-bedroom apartments. Each of the second rooms in each apartment has a door to the exterior, so it can second as a home office. So if you're an accountant or a hairstylist or a massage therapist, you can have that second room as your sort of office space, and the person, your client never has to go through your own living space. So it's ideas like that are really embracing this new flexible demand that consumers have for how they work and how they live. And that's just one example. There's many, there's been a boom in backyard offices. So these tiny homes that go in your backyard because, people are sick and tired of just sitting at their inside office. They want to change the scenery, but they don't necessarily want to go rent a co-working space or go back to the office. So having this nice little 10 by 10 office in your backyard for, $20,000 or $30,000 that you can, spend your second half of your days in, that's another trend that we're seeing. So in that newsletter, we outline about 6 of those trends. And I think, people involved in real estate. So say Parrish, you're going to house hack and you bought a duplex and, live in one side, rent out the other side. The rent is going to cover, almost all of your expenses. So you're essentially living rent free. You're going to read the Great Resignation newsletter and you're going to say, I've got quite a big backyard. What if I put, 2 backyard offices back there and then rented them out, to people in the community who live nearby and, wanted to rent out a place for a couple $100 a month to get that change of scenery. So it's trying to promote thinking about that. And I'm not saying it's the right solution for everyone, but it's putting ideas out there that are trying to embrace the new reality that we find ourselves in, whether it's the Great Resignation or crypto or NFTs or what, the supply crunch that we currently find ourselves, or rising interest rate or rising inflation. It's all those topics that have a so what attached to them, and that's what we try to get to in the newsletter.
You got my wheels turning, Mr. Cartier. You got my wheels turning now. Wow. So
that's awesome.
Because I even tinkered with the idea of getting a backyard office in my residence. And I was just thinking just to do that for me, just so I can have someone quiet to record. But that I didn't even think about that's the trend now, and people are going to need more space in order to work. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're appreciating more the outdoor spaces as well. So, if you put your recording studio in your backyard with a backyard office, that's a tax deduction because it's a business expense. But B, you could also, you're not going to be using it 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. You could rent it out to other podcasters or people who want to do interviews when you're not using it. So there's tons of opportunities like that.
Yeah, we're showing ideas. We love ideas. We love brainstorming and figuring out stuff. Ideas and philosophies. That's what I love to go by.
Absolutely.
That's
all
how,
there is.
That's how we get better. Well, let's see. How far are we in? We still got some time. How you holding up?
I'm great. Like I said, Parrish, I could talk about this stuff all day. So keep the questions coming.
Okay, great. We talked about real estate, your newsletter, and you say you developed some software as well.
Yeah. So, I don't develop. I'm not a developer, but I'm head of marketing for a company called Hostfully, and we develop software for short-term vacation rental managers. So if you have, one Airbnb or 20 vacation rentals in Hawaii, it's companies and people like that use our software to make the guest experience a lot more streamlined, to plug into the different online booking platforms, to really operate as sort of the operating system for a short-term rental, vacation rental type business.
Oh, that's interesting. What was the origins for that?
So I started with Hostfully almost 5 years ago. The first product that they had put out, and when I joined, I think I was like the 4th or 5th employee, in addition to the co-founders. So very early stage startup. And again, that goes back to the education component. I knew I really wanted to be in the property technology space and learn about marketing and expand my writing capabilities. So I actually went on as an unpaid intern for the first year. With Hostfully, really just looking for that education. So that's a really interesting point has nothing to do with your question, but I just wanted to highlight. When I joined the company, their only product was a digital guidebook. So when you go to a vacation rental, historically you'd see like a printed out binder with all the information like Wi-Fi codes and emergency contact and local restaurants and how to work the fridge and how to work the TV and all that kind of stuff. So what Hostfully did was digitize that and put it on your phone. So it was a lot more user-friendly, and you could add local recommendations and it'd give you directions and all that kind of stuff. So I really believe in the product because I had some short-term rentals myself and I still do. But since then, we've evolved the product into a full-on sort of property management system for vacation rentals. So not only is it the digital guidebook, but it's, again, like I mentioned, that operating system for your whole business that connects to all the different other software providers that vacation rental operators might need, like things like dynamic pricing, which sort of uses algorithms to automatically change your price based on seasonality. All the different OTAs, which are agencies, so your Airbnbs, your Verbos, your Booking.com, Yonder, all those. So it sort of plugs in all those different digital components of your business into sort of a one-stop shop.
So if you're in the Airbnbs, you want to hear this. This can simplify the Airbnb process.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's you got a great deck of cards there, sir. You got a great deck of cards there.
Well, again, it's like it goes back to scratching your own itch. I had one Airbnb at the time, so I knew exactly the pain points, and so it was an easy decision to jump on, even though it was early stage. And now we're up to almost 50 employees, and it's a fully fledged company. So it's been interesting to see that progression from sort of scrappy early stage startup to sort of, I don't know, it feels like a real business now, a real company. Which is a real estate aspect of my businesses as well.
Oh man, that's a beautiful story I'm hearing, man. This is great. Okay. So you've pretty much handled every asset class as far as real estate. I'm assuming you've done short-term rental, long-term rental. You invested in commercial real estate, I'm assuming.
Little bit of commercial, but mostly just residential.
Okay.
Whether it's short, medium, or long term.
Okay. So, for you, what is your favorite property to invest in, and how do you start your process to looking for property?
So, I mean, my favorite to invest in is long-term residential real estate, just because it's a little more hands-off than the short-term and medium-term rentals, because you have a lot of turnover with those. You have cleaners involved, you have maintenance involved. Whereas the long-term rentals, it's not a set it and forget it, but it's to me it's a little bit more passive than the other aspects of the business. But you can for sure make more money as a short-term rental operator than a long-term because you're getting those higher nightly rates versus your monthly leases on the long-term. But if you're going to scale up, I think the long-term rental is residential rental would be my favorite asset class. My favorite type of property. I mean, I started out in condos just because it was easy. We bought new build condos, so the maintenance was zero. There's a condo board that handles most of the issues, so it was super hands off. I still have some of those condos, so for anyone getting started. Who doesn't want a house hack, I definitely suggest the condo route. But now we're into the multifamily, so 5+ units, and there's a number of reasons why I prefer multifamily. There's economies of scale. There's really interesting financing opportunities that I can get into that you can't get in real estate with 4 or less units in it. And then on the how do we acquire properties? Right now, we're just buying land and we're building our own properties. I'm sure you've read the headlines. Real estate prices are at historical highs. As a real estate investor, that's the biggest thing that frightens me is overpaying for an asset. So we made the decision as a development company 2 years ago to not purchase anything new and to build from the ground up. So it's a bit more involved. And I definitely wouldn't suggest that for new investors, because we essentially buy land with a decrepit house on it or no house on it. We rezone it. We get all the site planning done. We deal with the city. We get building permits. We excavate. We build, and then we get tenants in there. So it's sort of like full cycle of the real estate development process and then we hold it long term. So that's our model right now. And there's various reasons for that. But in terms of how we acquire properties, I mean, there's the online listing platforms are great. The best way I found, the best deals we've ever found is all off-market deals. So networking, it really comes down to networking. It's talking to brokers and agents who are investor focused. It's going to meetups. It's joining investor groups. It's really, surrounding yourselves with other investors, because the best deals I've found are pre-market, so they haven't been listed on the MLS. It's just someone talking about it. Maybe I want to sell, maybe I don't want to sell, and those tend to be the best deals. But you can't get access to those unless you start networking and talking to the right people.
All right, hear that, y'all? Off-market deals. It's about who you know.
Mm-hmm.
Again, during the course of this entire show, everything you're saying is coming full circle. It's coming full circle. You gotta go out and try. You want to network with people, like-minded people. And I like to add, you got to put the work in, because you said something earlier. With the software company, you said you did a free internship with this company, and now you're part of this company that's grown to this level, to this new level. I want to highlight that part right there. That's important. If you can find something that you can believe in and you can work for it for free for maybe a year or two, you should go for it.
Mm-hmm.
You should go for it.
And you don't even have to do it full time. I mean, you can do unpaid work for 10 hours a week. Find an investor. Go to a local meetup. Find an investor who's sort of at where you want to be at in a couple of years, and just offer to help them out for on their next deal. Like, hey, I like what you're doing. I want to help out. I want to learn. On your next deal, can I be sort of your assistant, and I'll do the work for you. The sales cycle on a deal is probably a couple months, max 6 months. So you're not committing yourself to a huge amount of time, but just like you said, Parrish, surround yourself with like-minded people, and to add to that, surrounding yourself with people who are where you want to be at, and providing them value is key, because if you don't provide value, then those people aren't going to want you around for very long. So it's really about providing that value, as opposed to just sort of sitting there and hoping that something's going to fall in your lap.
Oh, okay. That's another nugget, y'all. You dropping them today. You leaving a golden trail for us here. Yeah. But I do like to thank you for coming on. I would love to do this again. For the people who's listening, how can they connect with you? Your social media. And we're going to leave information for your newsletter in the show notes. But also, how can we reach the newsletter and your software? We want to be able to connect with you in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So the software is just hostfully.com, hostfully.com. The easiest way to get in touch with me is just sign up for the newsletter, briefcase.email, and just reply to the newsletter. It comes directly to my inbox, so you can always get the first newsletter and respond to that email, and I'll get it, and I'll happily chat with anyone about anything. So feel free to reach out. All
right, thank you, Mr. Cartier.
Thank you very much, Parrish.
From Detroit to Canada, everybody. This is the Entrepreneur Kickback, and we're out. Like to thank you guys for kicking back with us. If you want to connect with us on social media, you can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at the Entrepreneur Kickback, all one word. We also building out a YouTube channel. You can follow us on The Patton House on YouTube. You can also catch me on Twitter. If you want to hit me up on Twitter, I'm at Podcaster Patton on Twitter. I'm also on Clubhouse. If you want to hit me on Clubhouse, you can hit me at PPatton248 on Clubhouse. Also, if you want to check out our website, theentrepreneurialkickback.com. Right now, you can listen to the show, and it also connects you to all our social media and our links. And you can listen to us on the website and all podcasting platforms. I'd like to thank you guys. Peace.